So welcome to Cooking Fun with Joanna, with me, your host, Joanna Hodorowska with Nutrition in Motion, where we basically make something really fun every 2 weeks so that you get some new ideas of what spices go together, what foods go together well together, and new ways of cooking it. So today's specialty is going to be spicy vegetable burgers. And we're going to make some zucchini fries on the side. And the ingredients for the vegetable burger, and we're going to do some of this in the class, is 2 cups of cooked kale, which I have kale, chard, and spinach, which is the baby kale, chard, and spinach. So I'm going to use my scissors most likely, or I'll chop it into smaller pieces. And then you want some kind of beans. If you are not going to use beans, then I suggest we're going to chop up some mini portabella mushrooms. And then some olive oil and butter. And then you're going to have 1 medium sweet potato that's going to be grated. So that should be about 1 cup. Then there's some breadcrumbs, or you can use ground flax seeds. Oh, I got to get the ground flax seeds out of the refrigerator. And then for spices, and the ground flax seeds are if you don't want to use breadcrumbs. And then there's some ground cinnamon and nutmeg. And you can use some cayenne pepper or some ancho pepper to taste. And then for the zucchini fries, we're basically doing zucchini. We're going to chop them up into matchsticks. And we're actually going to put them in the oven and let them kind of cook on their own in the oven while we're making the burgers. I also am suggesting to add some parsley, because parsley always adds some little anti-inflammatory benefits, and it would be a great thing to add into the burgers just for a little bit of zing. So I'm just going to grab a bunch and put that aside, but I'm going to go get my my ground flax seeds, because I don't do very well with wheat. But I can also try using the garbanzo bean flour as an option instead of regular breadcrumbs. But I think this is going to be too thin. I think the ground flax seeds are probably going to work a little bit better. So while I go get my my whatchamacallit, you're gonna need a bowl, because you got to stick everything into it. And I have a feeling that this bowl is probably too small. So if you're supposed to put everything in, like the burger and all the contents in here. But I think for one person, it's going to be 1 cup of kale, one cup of beans or the chopped mushrooms, half a cup of sweet potato, and then everything else stays the same. Got it?
I guess.
So let me go through that again. It's going to be 1 cup of the kale, 2 cups or 1 cup of beans or diced mushrooms, and then half a cup of the shredded sweet potato. Got it? Just put that in here. So I'm just going to get my ground flax seeds.
Yeah, let's all washing it.
And then, the one thing that this recipe is missing. Can you guys guess what the one thing that the recipe is missing, in my opinion?
What's that?
You can't guess? Come on.
What's missing? Cheese.
Garlic.
Onion or garlic? Yeah, it's like,
Well, no,
it needs some kind
takes
of
onion.
spice to go with it.
Takes onion.
What?
There's onion in it.
Well, I probably put onion in it, but that's what I put in but the recipe that I found doesn't have the onion in it. So I am altering that because it needs an onion. Everything tastes better with an onion. All right, maybe not everything, but chocolate definitely doesn't taste better with an onion. So we are going to, I'm going to start with actually shredding my my sweet potato. So there's 2 options that you have with the sweet potato. You can either use it as is, or you can peel it and then shred it.
Sweet potato.
Pardon
All
me?
right. Hold it.
I used it as is.
I'm gonna use it as is too. So we're just gonna
Sure.
add, if you
I sure-
if you got a sweet potato about this big, you're gonna do about 2/3 of it. And I'm just gonna use my mandolin and shred it. This gives us some extra energy expenditure. Definitely an effort. If you have a food processor, that might be easier to do. Then you can just slice it in there. At a certain point, it doesn't, you can't get the right angle.
That's what she says.
What? Yeah, that's what she said, exactly. So I am just going to keep shredding it until I have about half a cup. And that looks like half a cup for me. If you're making the full amount, then it's gonna be a whole cup. So just keep.
Sorry, I
shredding.
thought I was.
But this is what my shredded sweet potato looks like. So that's about my half a cup.
There's ours.
Yeah, that's about, all right.
There's also
Then you
3
should put
of
in
us.
just a teeny bit more. So I can get rid of that mandolin now, and I don't need that. Now I'm gonna take that onion. Where did I? Here, the onion. And I'm going to dice it. So, as usual, we're gonna cut that thing in half. Be careful because as I just did, the skin sometimes slips off. And the last thing we need is to have you slice your finger off in the middle of class. That would not be a good outcome. So we're gonna cut the end off. We're gonna peel to the second layer of the onion and
Damn,
make
it's a
sure
big-
that funky, shiny skin layer is off, because that'll just make it hard to cut. The knife will just slide. We want the knife to slice, right?
Not you.
No, and we don't want the knife to slice me, but we want the knife not to slip. So we're gonna take that big butcher knife and you're going to cut slices into it. And I would say you probably want to make these kind of small. You don't want to make them too big. And then hold on to it, push down on the whole onion, and then use that knife to kind of cut across. And now you can cut it, dice it into teeny cubes. And I'm doing them about, I don't even know if it's a 1/4 inch thick. But that's why you want a really good knife, because you want to be able to cut that closely. But keep watching, make sure you're slicing, holding that knife firmly and holding the onion firmly. When it gets near the end, it gets a little squirmy, which is why having that tail helps. But I think that's going to be it for today. And I'm going to throw that. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to take my wad of parsley and basically dice that really tinily too, and just throw that all in there. So you're going to throw that into the bowl with the sweet potatoes. All right? You guys with me?
Yeah, so far so. I'm waiting for spinach.
All right, we haven't gotten to the spinach yet. So now it should look like this. It's almost like tricolored. Looks pretty good. And if you're like me, where some of it didn't make it into the bowl, that's okay. Just pick it up and throw it in. I'm assuming your counters are clean, because I know I cleaned mine. So now we got the potato, we got that. If you're gonna use mushrooms, we're gonna also dice these into small pieces. So if you're gonna use, instead of the beans, I'm gonna actually do a little bit of beans and a little bit of mushroom. For those who don't like beans, we are gonna use mushrooms instead. But you're gonna basically turn the mushroom on its back. And then, I don't know if you can cut it in half like you do the onion. But you're gonna dice this into those half-inch slices too. And I think I'm gonna have to chop it even smaller after it's sliced like this, so that they're actually in half. If you can see, I'm just turning each piece so that they're little cubes. And this is the part where it's called playing with your food. And sometimes it's just easier to take that knife and just cut across the whole thing. And who cares about uniformity?
Chef Ramsay does.
What?
Chef Ramsay cares about uniformity.
Well, there's uniformity in certain things, but in cooking, that doesn't have to be a perfectly cubed mushroom. It can be however big or small you really want it, but they don't have to be all uniformly sized. When we're talking about equality and other things, that's a totally different subject. And we're not going to talk about that today, but I'm all about, equal work, equal pay. Everybody is the same. We all just want love. So if I want love, everybody else does too. So I'm just going to share the love, spread the love, and
All right,
pour these
All right.
mushrooms all diced up.
The pinto beans, are we getting rid of the juice?
Pardon me?
The pinto beans, we have them in a can. Are we getting rid of the juice?
Rinse them.
Rinse them?
Definitely rinse them. You don't want that liquid in there. Otherwise, you're going to have to use a lot more of the breadcrumbs or the. All right. I think I need a new can opener. I don't know what the heck is wrong with this one, but it just doesn't want to cut right. For now that I said it doesn't want to cut right, now it's cutting just fine. Maybe that's done, and I just gotta drain it. Rinse and drain, and put that into the pot too. So I'm just gonna spoon out like 4 tablespoons or half the can of my beans into my pot, because I'm doing the mushrooms in it as well. So that's that. That's that. And now one thing I want all of you to do is actually turn the oven on, because we're going to bake the zucchini sticks in the oven. So we might as well have that turn up while we chop up the cup of greens into your burger. So I'm gonna just take a handful of greens. I think you can see I just took a handful. I'm gonna kind of smush it all together. And I'm going to shred it into small little pieces. So first I'm gonna slice it. What?
I'm on my call.
So here I'm gonna slice it. And then once it's all sliced up, then I'm going to turn the knife sideways and dice the rest of it. So this way it becomes, they come little leaf cubes. Is there such a thing as a leaf cube? Am I making up words? Sure. So that's probably a half a cup. I need to do one more. No, that was actually probably 3/4 of a cup, so I only need to do a smidgen more. So I'm just gonna do a smidgen more and do the same thing. And chop those stems up too if they have them. And then just slice it into 1/2-inch strips. And then you're going to chop those strips into cubes.
What's that?
Who's talking about that?
Oh, the spinach?
Yeah, I'm just doing another set of the spinach. So that way it looks like the right amount. So now we gotta put the spices in here. What did I say the spices were? Spices are cinnamon and nutmeg and either chili pepper or you could put paprika. And I have a ancho pepper. Cinnamon and nutmeg. So you're putting in a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of the ancho chili.
What was the last one you said?
I have this ancho chili pepper.
Yeah, okay.
So if you have any other kind of chili pepper you can use, that's great. This one I find has flavor, but it doesn't have that biting,
There's just no chili.
it doesn't have that biting heat. So if you want red pepper flakes, you can use those too. Nutmeg, a little nutmeg, and a little cinnamon. Who would have thought that that would be in a burger, but that's what's in here. And I guess I need some more cinnamon. Used up the last bit. There ain't nothing left in my container. And that's proper English. Ain't nothing left. And then a little nutmeg. And now the fun is going to be mixing it all together.
What else do you have in there?
What else do I have in here?
Yeah, you have the spinach.
The spinach, the sweet potato. I put a portabella mushroom into it.
Oh, and what about the beans?
And then I put the beans in there too.
Okay.
So I put half a cup of beans and a half a cup of mushrooms. But I'm noticing that how is this all going to stay together is the question.
We're gonna have to squish it.
Well, yeah, it's almost like, I don't know well, we'll figure it out, right?
Yep.
It's almost like some of it will reduce and cook when it's actually in the pan. But I don't want to cook it in the pan and then let it cool and make it into patties. Although in a way, that is what I want to do. All right. Because that could be the other thing you could do too, is like stick it all in the pan and kind of flatten it, and then can think of it like an omelet.
Yeah, it's true. You probably cut out circles.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm wondering, it's like, I'm looking at it right now and I'm like, there's nothing to bind this thing together. So maybe
True.
we do actually have to add an egg. Because otherwise I really don't know how this is supposed to stick together. You guys
It's
okay
also-
with adding an egg into it? Then it's not necessarily vegan, but it's okay. I'm okay with it. Shall we add an egg?
No problem.
Otherwise I don't think it's gonna stick together at all.
I would take a little bit at a time and mix a little bit of meat with it.
What? I didn't hear you.
Take a little bit at a time and then mix the meat with it.
Well, you're putting meat in it, but we don't have meat in ours. So I'm gonna turn my pan on, turn the stove on so that I can heat the pan. And yeah, the whole thing is just like, it needs to stick together, and I don't know how it's gonna stick together. Like if you had beef or turkey, it would stick together, but we don't have beef or turkey, do we now? So I'm gonna take an egg and stick it in here, because that's the only thing I can think of. And then that way, if you put in the, what do you call it? The breadcrumbs or the flaxseed, it'll all kind of stick together. So now you just got to mix this a lot, because you got to get that egg all mixed in. But I'm going to take that 1/4 cup of the flax meal. Sprinkle that in. You can do either a 1/4 cup of your flaxseed meal or
Okay.
your breadcrumbs. Hopefully that'll all kind of stick together in a minute.
Shut up.
All right. So I'm gonna actually use my
Yeah.
hands to kind of get the rest of it
Yeah.
put, because sometimes using your hands gets it
Flaxseed.
all mixed in and combined the way you want it combined.
Using a pork stove or something. I'm using these.
How's yours turning out over there? Am I the only one that's having challenges with this?
No, mine's actually coming together.
Okay. Mine seems to be starting to come together.
Did we start the zucchini stuff ahead of time or what?
No, we haven't yet.
Okay.
We haven't done the zucchini yet. I was waiting, I wanted to put this together. And then let it kind of sit here and stick before we start the zucchini, because we're gonna need to put the zucchini, we're gonna need to slice them and put them into a pan and stick that in the oven.
You didn't put the onions in yet, did you?
I did put the onions in at the beginning. Did you miss that part? All right, so I'm gonna wash my hands. And I'm going to get myself a baking sheet. And my suggestion is, in order to keep the sheet a little bit cleaner, you can use a piece of foil on top of your baking sheet. So I'm going to use a piece of foil, put that in here. Since I have this fabulous misto sprayer, I'm going to spray it with a little bit of olive oil.
In the pan,
Mhm.
then cut out circles.
And hopefully that'll keep the zucchini from sticking. And now we're going to take that zucchini and cut them into matchsticks. So normal size zucchini, you cut it into 3. So it's about, 1.5 or 2 inches thick. And then my suggestion is to stick them, put them on the end, hold them by the top, push down, slice it into 1/2-inch slices. Except don't do what I just did, make one really skinny. And then you're gonna turn it sideways, all in a bunch, hold it tightly together and cut them into matchsticks. So they're gonna be these little sticks. And you gotta be careful with this last one because it all wants to slide apart. And then lay those onto the baking sheet.
Back up.
And then you're going to continue doing the same thing with the other zucchini. Cut them into slices. Cut them. Matchsticks. And then lay them out on the pan. And I don't know about you guys, but I have 2 zucchini, so I'm gonna make both of them. So I'm just gonna continue with the same technique I just did and cut my zucchini into 3s and then cut into slices. Cut into matchsticks and lay it out on the pan. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna spray it with some olive oil. Put a little sea salt on it. Put a little basil. And then sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese on it.
How's Himalayan salt?
Pardon me?
How's the Himalayan salt instead of the sea salt?
That's fine. That works. All right, so I'm almost done with cutting my zucchini.
Jake, this is salt or pepper salt?
That's kosher salt.
Kosher salt's a little bit too coarse.
All right,
Yeah, here's some
So you want something a little bit finer. And if you have, like I said, the misto sprayer or something you can spray your zucchini with, I would do that. If you don't have the sprayer, I think you got to get one.
Yeah, that's from there.
And then we're gonna, what did I say? We put some basil and a little bit of Parmesan cheese. And then we're gonna put that into the oven that's heated up to 350 degrees. And we're gonna put that in there for 15, 20 minutes. So sprinkle a little bit of basil.
basil. Basil.
You can sprinkle it with a little bit of cheese, Parmesan cheese. I find that, you know, you have to make sure that that Parmesan cheese is
Yeah, basil. That's one.
Oh,
broken up. It looks like I'm running low on that too. All right, so a little bit of Parmesan cheese, just for fun.
We don't have Parmesan, we're using locatelli.
Pardon me?
We're using locatelli.
All right, it all works. And then a little bit of salt. And then, since you have it all in a pan and hopefully it looks like this, then you can put it into your oven. And I just realized that my oven is still set with the rack lower than it should be because I put a turkey in the oven. So let me fix that. All right. So now I'm gonna put the timer on for 15 minutes so I can check on it.
What's the temperature?
350. And now we can put the olive oil and some butter into the pan. This is not exactly how I anticipated it to look or to turn out.
Trial
I'm
and
actually
error.
going to spoon out the burger because I don't know if I can actually make it into a patty and put it into the pan. So I'm going to take a big spoon, like a serving spoon, with the small spoon, and I'm going to try to create a little patty.
What are the walnuts for?
I don't know. Maybe I left that in from last week.
No, that's according to this. It said, where is it?
Like I said,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Beautiful walnuts.
That's not. So I'm just going to spoon it on and kind of create a kind of a patty on the pan using just the 2 spoons. And maybe it'll come together that way. I don't know. Sometimes recipes turn out perfect and other times you don't know what's quite missing. I think it's going to taste great. Just not really a burger the way that I wanted it to be a burger. Maybe it'll become a burger once some of the stuff cooks together. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm gonna build that one up a little bit right there. So I got four burgers on my pan. I think I'm just gonna leave it at 4 burgers on the pan. I'm not gonna try to squeeze in one more because that was a thought. But this might be a good time to put a little bit of salt on your burgers too, because I don't think we put any salt into the burgers. So this is just proof that I need to try these things out before I make them. So now we just get to wait and see what happens. We're gonna just let it sit there and cook. And hope that it all binds together. Probably Thanksgiving, because that is like the last time I talked to you. How's yours looking?
Cooking.
I feel like we need those little wire circles.
Yeah.
I feel like we needed one of those for this. Pack it in there, let it cook that way, and then take it off after it's kind of cooked together. But I think it's going to take a little bit to cook because of the mushrooms as well as the greens. So I think we'll be all right. But it might be a vegetable mash instead of burgers.
You're allowed to just put everything in the pan and get cookie cutters.
Right. That's what I'll do with the second batch. But this is the fun of cooking, right? You don't really always know what the heck you're making. It all looks good. You just don't really. I know the ingredients are good.
Yeah. The ingredients are healthy.
The ingredients are healthy. We could have, we had some parsley for, anti-inflammatory, greens for the anti-inflammatory and for the antioxidant value. And sometimes the rest is just experiment. So I'm just gonna keep turning my pan because I don't know if my stove is crooked or my element is crooked, but it looks like the oil all goes to one side. Or maybe I need a little bit more oil. Maybe that's all I need is to put more oil on the one side. And the challenge is going to be how to flip it. So I have a nice flexible spatula. Hopefully that'll be enough to flip it without it all disintegrating into mush. How's it look on your side?
Mine's still a little loose.
All right. Oh, mine actually seemed pretty good until I flipped it. And then I lost a couple beans. But I think it depends on how thick it is.
Yeah, as soon as you flip it, you lose it.
Yeah.
Then make it into a patty again.
Actually, I got one that stayed a patty. Now the other two are a little thicker. So I'm gonna try that. It's almost like I want to breathe and hold my breath to flip the burger. And it mostly stayed together. This is totally playing with your food, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it looks good. Mine's browning. So I think I have an idea for next time. Throw it all into the Cuisinart.
Yeah.
Because I think the problem is that the beans are whole, and that would be actually part of the thing that would bind it together.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, they would make a paste.
It would make more of a paste.
Yeah.
But I think this is still going to be pretty tasty. But I think that egg is the thing that really. Without the egg, I'm not sure how it would stay together, except with meat. You know, once in a while, you got to try something new. And this is where you find out whether things work or they don't. So, Cuisinart for the next time. But it smells good.
Yeah, it smells good.
But we also have to kind of wait for I'm going to cover mine and see if that helps with some of the cooking. And then this is something that I found in the store the other day. It's called chow. Maybe it's chao. I don't know. I don't even know how you say it, but it's this creamy original cheese that comes in slices, and they call it with chow tofu, but it's a non-dairy made out of coconut oil with some corn and potato starch, with some tofu, but it's a cheese alternative. So I thought, you know, let's try this. Maybe it'll actually be good, pretty good stuck on one of these burgers, you know? Why not try things? Being the nutritionist, I might as well experiment, right?
Yeah, Steve said every time he tries to flip them, they break apart.
I'm
Yeah,
ready to make meat.
I'm gonna add a little bit of this cheese onto mine. No, I'm just gonna add it on the two pieces, so I can make a comparison. But I think covering it is actually gonna help.
But she added a little cheese or something on the top.
I'm adding this new cheese. It's a tofu cheese made with tofu and coconut oil. And it's in slices. And
Yeah,
let's
so
see,
you lost Steve on the coconut.
it's actually pretty tasty. Well, I figured I would try something as a dairy alternative because you can always try it once. And if you don't like it, you don't get it again. But it's actually pretty decent. I can see how people could eat it on crackers or put it on their veggie burger. So how are we doing now that these are done?
I'm gonna try it.
Probably cook for 5 minutes on each side.
Try it.
And I'm gonna check the zucchini right now to see how they're doing. And the zucchini is probably gonna still need another 10 minutes. So that's only 5. Maybe I need to actually up the temperature another 25 degrees. What are you guys making over there? It sounds like you got the Cuisinart going. It sounds like somebody's got the Cuisinart going. The food processor. Yes, no? All right, so I'm gonna take one of my little burgers off of here. Actually, I'm gonna take all the burgers off of here. I think they're actually ready. I should probably try it first to be sure. I'm gonna try a slice or a bite just to be sure that it's actually cooked. Otherwise, I'll put it back on the pan. They are really good.
Yeah.
So that yours should be cooked. If you want to try it, you can. I'm gonna go ahead and make my second batch. How about you guys?
Yeah, we're getting ready to do the second batch.
Gonna put a teeny bit of more of the olive oil. And do the same thing I did last time. Try to form a patty in the pan. It definitely has to be at, like an inch or a half-inch thick, and that's it. Anything bigger than that, and it's,
Found out a way of keeping them together.
yeah.
I use the emulsion blender.
Yeah, that's probably, oh, is that what you did?
Yeah.
Did that work?
Oh, yeah. You can actually make patties out of them now.
Oh, so you were using the immersion blender.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah, you need to get the beans ground up to make the paste.
Right.
Then they'll stick together.
All right. Now we know.
So either do food processor or emulsion blender, one or the other.
One or the other. Yeah, because it definitely didn't become a paste at all. Well, I'm just gonna relish in the beauty of yours. I'm just gonna dump the rest of mine in here. I don't feel like making a third batch. So it's just gonna be a big pan of beans. There, mine's just one big pancake.
Flip 'em, same flip.
So do you think I could actually smush them in the pan? This is one way of doing it. You smush it in the pan.
Yeah, they flip better with the emulsion mixer.
Yeah, probably. But now that mine's in the pan, I'm gonna try something different.
Yeah.
But as long as I get, I should have mushed these up in the bowl. Because now I can see how I can still form these into little patties, even now that the beans are mushed. Steve, you're very smart. Thank you for being smarter than me.
No problem.
All right, so now that I mushed that up, I can make the patties a lot better. Wow, that's like night and day. Anybody paying attention to the zucchini? So even mashing it with the fork in the pan definitely made a difference. Now I can actually make them into smaller patties instead of having just one big giant.
There you go. That's what the patties look like.
Oh, wow. Really?
The blender worked pretty good.
What's that look like again?
This.
Wow, that looks awesome.
Here.
So the zucchini is still taking its time. Let's show you what mine looks like. You can see they're still kind of pale. So it's going to be, they're starting to get a little bit translucent, which is a good thing. And according to the timer, there's 3 more minutes. So we'll see what happens in 3 minutes. I'm going to try my vegan cheese on the burger and see how that tastes. It's actually pretty good. How's your zucchini coming along? How's your zucchini coming along?
Hello.
Looking good.
Now I'm ready to flip my burger. Helps to have a big flexible spatula for this one. Got one more to turn. And I'm gonna try not to hold my breath. There, I did it.
Matter.
So now we know that the key is you have to blend it.
You know, there's a bigger dish for the, you know, a dish for the burgers. Okay.
What else do we have?
Zucchini, and I didn't make anything else.
All right, 3 more minutes on the zucchini on my end. How about you?
Two's good. How many do we have? You can give me one of the crappy, you can give me one of the crappy ones.
How's the zucchini look on your end?
Coming along good.
You have 1 or 2, Mom? One for Mom, huh?
Take a bit. Very much. Okay.
I'm adding a tad bit of oil onto my pan because it looks like it's getting all dried out, so to speak.
Go on.
All right, zucchini's almost ready. How's your zucchini turning out?
Coming out good.
So I think overall the flavors are really good. But as you had said, I think you have to definitely mash that. You have to mash the beans, otherwise there's nothing for it to stick together with. Oh, wait a minute. I'm cheating. I've got 1 second. So this is what my zucchini sticks look like. You can see that they're starting to brown a little bit. And they are actually perfect. Do yours look like this too?
Yellow.
So they should be just a little bit brown, a little bit maybe crispy on the top end. And that's how you know that they're ready. So what I'm going to do now is take some of those zucchinis.
A bunch of.
And take some of those zucchinis and put it on the side of the burgers. Let's see if I can actually make this look pretty. So this is my final product.
They're almost soggy.
Well, cooked zucchini can be like that. So if you want them to be less soggy, you're gonna have to stick them back in the oven at a higher heat and get them to evaporate a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yep.
They're not gonna be like the regular like French fries where they can get crispy because they're too wet.
No, but I figure another 10 minutes and they'll be all right.
You can definitely do that. How did your burgers turn out? How did everybody's turn out?
Hold on. Ours.
Excellent.
A little cheese on top.
Perfect. Oh, don't forget to turn your oven off. So now I'm going to try the other part, the zucchini, because I already ate a burger. And I'm going to try the zucchini because that's what I was waiting for out of the oven. The zucchini, to me, the zucchini is perfect. Trying to get them crunchy is going to be, and crispy is going to be a challenge.
No, I don't want them crispy. I just want them a little drier.
That's going to be the challenge because they're kind of wet to start with. But you can try keeping them in the oven for a little bit longer, but they might just get still more mushy. And maybe you have to turn the oven up. Maybe you have to turn it up for another 25 degrees to dry them out a little bit. But flip them over.
I did.
Okay. But that would be my suggestion. If you want them drier, put them back in the oven for a little bit and see if they'll actually kind of dehydrate, so to speak. They may or may not. But I think it all turned out really well, despite the fact that didn't make perfect looking burgers. So I think next month, because we're not going to have a class on the 22nd because I'm in Chicago visiting family. So our first class is going to be that first Tuesday of January. Do you want a vegetarian dish or do you want a meat dish? Or do you want something from what part of the world?
Chinese. I don't know. Pick something.
Something like Spanish, like something either Spain or Portuguese or.
All right, I'll find something Chinese Chinese, Spanish, or Portuguese. So we'll do something a little bit different part of the world. And
did she say Mexican?
Pardon me?
Did she say Mexican?
Actually, Joanna will teach us how to make lumpy.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really hard thing to do. You have to actually cook the cabbage in its entirety, peel the layers off, cut part of the stem off, and then you have to make the insides. Which the stuffing is probably the easy part, but it's like a 3-hour production. So I would not recommend making that in class unless you had unless all we were doing was putting the parts together. But I think it's going to be a lot more time consuming than you would imagine. But I might be able to do something like the hunter stew. That might be a good one to do.
Oh yeah.
So we'll do that next time. That's exactly what we'll do next time is we're going to make Polish hunter stew. All right. So that's going to be January. I think it's a January 4th or 5th. It's that first Tuesday of January. So we're going to make that Polish hunter stew.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
Or maybe we'll make bigos, one of the two. It's gonna be that thing with cabbage and Polish sausage and a whole bunch of spices and a whole bunch of other good things. But that's what we're gonna make on that Monday, on that first Tuesday. And then the third Tuesday, we're gonna make something either Spanish or Caribbean. All right?
Yep.
So enjoy your dinner tonight. Thank you for joining me for Cooking Fun with Joanna. We had fun making a mess, but it's actually really, really tasty. So hope yours turned out better than mine, and enjoy. And we'll see you next
Thank
time
you.
on Cooking Fun with Joanna.